Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dimensional Walking. My name is Rainbow, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to read an article that I wrote for Paranormal Underground magazine. It is the April issue 2017. Here's the magazine right here. I highly recommend everybody subscribing to them because it's a really cool magazine. It has a lot of different topics. It has, well, for instance, in this one, I think a lot of people know who Linda Godfrey is. And so there's a great article on her. There's something on magic. There's ghosts. There's Tesla. There's cryptids. There's Flying Horror of New Guinea. There's a lot of cool articles on hauntings and different things, ETs, you name it, everything. So I highly recommend checking them out. So what I wanted to do today as well is I wanted to kind of get out a little message because I heard from a little birdie that there have been a few people commenting in that maybe I need to spend some time in the woods so that I could better understand what I'm talking about when I talk about cryptids. And though I understand that kind of thought process, because especially for those people who don't know me, it's obvious to me that they haven't really followed our channel, because if you have, you would know that I work cattle. I lived in a Bedouin tent. I lived in a covered wagon. I lived in a gypsy wagon, and I lived in an 18-foot teepee. And I'm not talking, I lived in them for a few weeks or a few months at a time. I did this for 10 years. And I camped out in locations that were 3 hours away from anybody. I was in the woods, camping out. I went up the Continental Divide, on horseback. I've done a lot of stuff out in the woods, as far as just the spiritual stuff that you do when you're a medicine woman. So I do know a little something about being out in the woods. And a comment was made about me maybe spending 14 hours in the woods or something like that. And whoever made that comment, I've done more than 14 hours. I've done probably, I don't know, hundreds of hours in the woods, because that's where I lived. And I lived without running water, electricity, all that stuff, and it didn't bother me one bit. So I'm just one of those people that I'm just more comfortable isolated and kind of doing my own thing. So that's why I probably was, in my, the places that I loved the most were the ones that I was most isolated in, because of this personality trait that I have. I'm more of a loner than anything, not in a bad way, because I love people, but if I have to be by myself, where I am by myself, I'm fine. And if I'm doing my work with cryptids, I think this is kind of important to be able to go out there and do this kind of thing and be by yourself, not have a problem being isolated, being aware of your surroundings, not being stupid, but understanding where you are, and you're in their home territory, all that stuff. So just wanted to get that out there for anybody who's going to be watching this saying, oh, does she know what she's talking about? Well, half the time, maybe not, but I'm old cowgirl, and I have spent many an hour on my horse's back, riding, working, doing stuff. I'm looking for cattle, all that fun stuff, fall, spring roundups, everything you can think of. So when I say what I say about cryptids, I'm not just talking out my butt. I'm talking from being in locations where I was by myself and actually doing things on the spiritual journey, the medicine way, for 10 years. So just wanted to get that out there, just so you all know I'm not full of baloney. Okay. So this article is called Encountering Cryptids on an Empathic Level. And I know that kind of, for some people who are researchers who do the scientific thing, it's like not something that they always want to hear. But I don't believe that Sasquatch is just this animal, this gorilla out there that is just, just eats and sleeps and whatever. I believe they're highly intelligent. They've shown to be highly intelligent. They are highly intelligent. They're dimensional beings. I know for a fact with the ones that I've been in contact with that They're portal jumpers, not all of them, but some of them are. I think they can manifest in locations and disappear, drop of a hat, if they want to. They have these abilities. And I think they could probably share a lot of this knowledge and ability with us if we could get past guns and knives. Now, there's a lot of people who hunt, and I understand that, and I know that's what you do. And I know there's people who have guns and they take them with them when they go hunting, and they are responsible and they know what they're doing. And I appreciate that and I understand it. I am just not one of those people that will take a gun. Now, I do have a Bowie knife. And to be honest with you, I am more concerned about people than I am Sasquatch or another cryptid. I'm not saying there's not scary stuff in the woods, because I know there are, and you have to have protection. But what I'm saying is, on an empathic level, if you can kind of learn to listen to your gut, you'll take yourself out of a dangerous situation before you even walk into it. Because if you get a feeling where you know you shouldn't be there, you book it out of there, you walk away. In some cases, maybe you want to run away. I don't know. It depends on who you are or what the situation is. But just understand, when I'm talking about empathic level, I think it's very important to have this ability when you go into the woods, when you want to contact Sasquatch or Dogman, Mothman, Goatman, all these other types of cryptids that I've never contacted them before. I don't know them. Maybe, the Mothman, I'm not too sure. But what I'm saying is, if you understand that they live in certain areas, or you see one or whatever, make sure you understand that if they want space, if it doesn't want you being around, don't. That's kind of what I'm saying. So anyways, let's get to this article and see what you think. Within the topic of cryptozoology, sometimes the paranormal and high strangeness of life has a way of evading the conventional approach of researchers. Sometimes we have to bring out our resourceful instincts to construct idiosyncratic methods in order to achieve the results we are seeking. Eyewitness accounts and stories hold a certain amount of truth needed to piece together the universal puzzle that is scattered across the void. However, truth seekers who search for the answers come across what I call the needle in the haystack of needles quandary. There seems to be pieces that give the illusion that they fit together, but ultimately, if the shapes are askew even slightly, the outcome won't connect the dots or remotely resemble the expected conclusion. Maybe empathic correlation isn't as far-fetched as some might believe, and maybe it just might be the solution that clarifies how some of the dots are connected and why they don't fit in certain areas. Sasquatch and Dogman accounts have been a major source of intrigue that seem to have peaked to a new high within the past 20 years. Radio podcasts and YouTube videos have made it so much easier to share stories that would not have been heard otherwise. I have listened to many and found there are similarities to each, almost as if the same creatures visited them all. When I say creatures, I mean, I think humans can be creatures too. So I'm not just saying cryptids are creatures. I think, we all have our different ways of looking at beings, and, sometimes we can be whatever, animals, creatures. I think we're all connected. Research is vital in all these instances, but what if there is more to the story, like a semblance of some type of dialogue that happens on another level? Is this admissible to any research? And what if it changes the dynamics of what shows itself on the surface as evidence? The big question is, how does a person who is an empath play into cryptozoology? As an empath myself, the only way I can explain our role in the cryptid phenomenon is kind of like being a backstage messenger. Cryptids respond more so to empaths because we can feel their presence while communication is happening in the moment. The validation for most empaths comes from feeling and sensing the presence of an unidentified creature while communicating with it. The question is, how does an empath validate his or her communication without people thinking they are frauds or making it up? In the back of an empath's mind, the variable conundrum is either figuring out if they should say what they know or keep quiet. The negative side effects from a backlog of information sometimes can be equivalent to a dam ready to burst open. It eventually becomes hard to mind the doors scattered, because scattered memories can blur the senses into a spiraling abysmal black hole. The library of the mind has to figure out how to dispose of undisclosed dialogues. Writing does help, but sometimes imparted dialogues of high strangeness need to be shared. For many people, the very idea of interacting with cryptids seems as far-fetched as talking with aliens, but then we are dealing with two very different kinds of species, one that hides away from humans and the other that prefers to hide in plain sight of humans. How does any communication make sense? Sometimes for the empath, it doesn't. We don't sit down and ask questions. Doing so wouldn't be realistic, especially with the reality of who cryptids are. They are varied species that have a very different modus operandi than humans. That is all their own. The biggest mistake for any of us is to put a human slant on their way of existence. In today's day and age, people want photos, videos, footprints, and face-to-face contact that far exceed what society wanted 100 years ago. The darkness doesn't appear quite as ominous as it did because people are equipped with a fortitude that comes from a fanatic kind of interest. Yet I have found that no matter what video or article is out there, including images of Sasquatch, Dogman, or other cryptids, the debunkers come out in droves to disprove any findings as fake. Researchers are between a rock and a hard place because enthusiasts and the doubters want hard-pressed, convenient facts revealing the truth on cryptids, packaged in a way that is convenient to look at and easily swallowed. What if the truth people seek is right in front of them, yet they can't see it? Empaths can easily become target practice for the doubting Thomas types because the evidence of information can be seen as hearsay or speculation rather than a verbatim portrayal. Gathered information with corroborative sightings and stories that are verified by witnesses seem to be the only way that empaths can prove that what they fear from specific, that what they hear from specific contacts is true. Believe it or not, we need proof too. And that's one thing I want to make very clear. I need to be, I have to have confirmation on a lot of stuff that I do. I don't just go, oh yeah, this is what a Sasquatch said to me. And then, I have to understand that I had contact with a Sasquatch, and then how am I going to believe that? And what am I going to do? I have to have constant confirmation back to me. I just don't willy-nilly go out there and go, oh yeah, I'm in contact with this Sasquatch. It has to happen multiple times for me to be able to even understand it, to even think, well, I'm going to say something about it, and then not have a problem standing my ground on it and saying, yeah, this actually happened. So even for me, I have to make sure that I have a lot of contact. I understand what they're saying, and I can correlate it to somebody else who's had contact and what they have to say. So we have to do our research too, even as empaths. That's just what I'm trying to say. Okay. Sometimes as an empath, I am befuddled as to why I am contacted because I can only assume there are others more suited for their purpose. To be clear, I was not interested in Sasquatch or Dogman in my past. I knew about them and respected their existence, but I left that field of research for those who were more interested in it. I was told by two cryptids, a Sasquatch named Loki and a Dogman named Tulak, that one of the reasons why they chose me is because I have nothing to prove or gain from their contact. And that's really true. Either you're going to believe that I have contact or you're not, and that's totally up to you, and that is totally fine with me. Either you believe it or you don't, and I'll continue on with my life, and you will yours as well. But hopefully, if you do believe me and you have your contact with other Sasquatch or Dogman or other cryptids, we can share our information. Interestingly enough, I find these contacts do affect me even in the smallest of ways. I can sometimes smell them in the room with me. I will get a low hum in one or both of my ears that slowly crescendos into a point that becomes deafening. The tingly feelings up and down my legs, not necessarily down my spine, let me know someone wants to communicate with me. If I can feel a presence around me, I will either allow the information to come through or I block it, which can be draining. Sometimes I don't like waiting and become impatient in unpleasant ways. Headaches or smarting jab in various parts of my body will indicate that they want my attention. In their case, patience is not a virtue. And I can say that for Loki because Loki would wake me up at 2 o'clock at night in the middle of my sleep saying, hey, I got some information for you. I need you to write this down. You got to write it down. Got to write it down. And how I would wake up is I'd have the information already going through my brain like a typewriter. And that would wake me up because I could feel the words that weren't my own. And I'd get up and I'd do it. I had to have a talk with him about it. But anyways, cryptids will communicate with you in any way possible. So just be aware of that. The subconscious mind seems to have a waiting list of eager contacts are standing by for the very moment an empath opens up. I have often wondered if we have some brand or invisible mark that separates us from the general populace. The question is, how do they find us? I've waited until now to voice my opinion on cryptids because I believe these beings are a lot more intelligent than what some want to believe. When they contact me, I don't hear grunts, growls, or howls. If I did, the fight or flight impulse would kick in and I would probably jump out of my skin or pass out from fear. Some contacts give me jumbled words that I have to put together. Others will show me images of places in order to convey their messages to me. The words they speak to me, beyond a doubt, are spoken with my inner voice, but the information isn't mine, it's foreign to me. And I'm one of those people that once information is given to me by a cryptid or whoever it is, and I write it down and it's, I've got it, I forget it immediately because it's not mine. It's not my information. So if somebody said, hey, that cryptid that contacted you and said this, do you remember what they said? And I'll have to say, no, I have to look at my notes because I don't remember. And I think that's how I stay genuine to myself. I don't want, I just don't want my thoughts or what I think mixed in with what they say. I don't want it to be what I take and then I translate it into something else. I want it directly from them. And so that's why I write it down when I get the information, and I want to make sure that it's theirs. And then it's no longer in me and I let it go. And that's just what I do as an empath. Sometimes I am awoken in the wee hours of the morning with a nonstop dialogue taking place, almost as if someone else is using my mind like a typewriter. In other instances, I will be doing housework or errands when information starts coming through. It just depends when the contact takes place. To make it clear so that it doesn't seem like I don't understand the gravity of seeing cryptids in their habitat, I have worked cattle in Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Old Mexico, Arizona. I have been in their domain most of my life, and I fully understand the severity of some people's encounters with some of them. I, on the other hand, was left to my own devices in my early years. Now it's a different story. In my early years, they left me alone. Now they know that I'm open to them, so they come to me more. For those people who think all contact is demonic, I must tell you that there are so many different types of beings out in the world who have nothing to do with the darkness. Our souls know the difference between a dark or light presence. If something comes around me that is dark, I am on my guard and I ask for protection. From my perspective, the contacts seem to be more spirited and insistent these past 2 years. And I have to say, probably even more so now. It seems like the cryptids are really trying to get their messages across to people. And if you're an empath, if you're psychic, if you're open to this, be open to them, be open to their messages. It's almost like a cosmic wave of immeasurable depth is flowing in and out of my subconscious like rhythmic tide. It just seems like as I'm more open, the messages keep coming, but it's like the waves are bigger, and it's like the information is more intense. So maybe that means that they're ready to make contact with us, and they have been for quite a while. We just need to open up and listen to them. The cryptids I have encountered seem to need a human voice to tell their stories. An empath hears the ebb and flow of voices, yet we don't judge what we hear. I only ask that those who read or hear what an empath reiterates from these creatures does so with an open mind before jumping the gun to come to conclusions and deciding what is true and what is false. Remember, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction only because we don't meet it as often. So with that being said, just understand that I am not special. I'm not unique. Anybody can have communication with a Sasquatch or Dogman or any other being. If anything from the forest dwellers, spirit guides, spirits in general, whoever, alien, I don't think that there's a limit to who we can be in contact with. If you're open to it, be open to it. That's kind of the message today. And as far as me being in contact with Sasquatch, it was just since I've met Michael that I kind of opened up to them and letting them in. It wasn't that I was closed off to them. It was just I was doing other stuff. As a medicine woman, I was just trying to understand my path. When you open up to Sasquatch, Dogman, or whatever cryptid that you open up to, you find out a lot about yourself. And I think it's all about self-discovery. You discover them, you discover yourself, you discover your path, you understand your path a little bit better. And I think that's really what it's all about when you open up and you listen to what they have to say, because they open up a whole new world of possibilities to us. And as humans, we are not the top of the, ladder. There's so many other things out there we don't even know about. And I believe that cryptids will let us know. They'll advise us. I don't think they have ill intent. I think obviously there's cryptids, just like there's people who aren't good. And we just have to be aware of our empathic ability to be able to stay away from those. We have to be smart when we're in the woods. To make sure that you just don't go anywhere alone. And if you go with a group of people who want to make communication with Sasquatch, I think that you will make communication with them. And it wasn't hard for me. And I'm like I said, I'm not special. I'm just a person that's willingly open to them, and I want to hear what they have to say. So on that note, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them down below, and contact Michael and I at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. And we love emails from people. So please don't be shy, and we'll write you back. We're good at that. So take care. And until we meet again on another video, have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, wherever you are, and much happiness to you all. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.